Alright, so here we are, everybody. This will be Warnings and Revelations part 30. Warnings and Revelations 30, I believe. This one's probably going to have many parts because I want to go over a lot of things and stuff in the news and politics, economics, all that kind of stuff. Plus scriptural stuff. So, but first I want to say, since I saw some things in the news about the liberals in the country and stuff, the anti-bullying party there, don't mind bullying when it's them doing it and trying to coerce or force people to get in line with them and not speak about anything controversial. So I saw some things where Facebook and some other ones were going to police their content more and stuff and everything. I mean, it was something that's really way out there. There's somebody talking about, attacking people or anything like that. Yeah, you should shut it down. But the thing about free speech is like, even like them groups like the Ku Klux Klan and white supremacists, or even there's black supremacist groups out there now. They blow off whatever they're saying, and then the thing about free speech is you can counter it and denounce it and everything like that. Because I think we're going to get into a situation here, especially now they got these things, what qualifies as hate speech and stuff like that. And if you say anything about anybody in any kind of public forum or anything like that, or any group, you can have somebody coming after you for hate speech. And I'm like thinking, well, especially they're going to go after religious people, is what I'm getting at, is you're not going to be able to, point out that certain things are wrong and stuff without groups coming after you. So, but I want to go back to, like, growing up and stuff, when there were things on television that the majority of Americans thought were too raucous or going too far, things like that. They more or less would come back with, you don't like it, turn the channel. So that's pretty much what I'm showing like I got 10 subscribers, which is like really surprising to me if there's anybody. But even when I started doing this, I don't know, I guess sometime in the past, I can't remember why or how, or if I just did it by accident, but I guess I started a YouTube account and then forgot about it for years. And then one day I just punched in my name out of curiosity, and it came up. I had a channel, and remarkably, I forget what was on there, but it showed like 7 subscribers, and I'm like, huh? They might have been videos about trucking, or I don't know what was on there. So it's quite surprising, and now it's surprising even more to see that it's up to 10. So I doubt if any of those 10 are regular listeners checking things out. What if you are? Hey, how you all doing? I hope me flapping my gums at some point does somebody some good and maybe steers them in the right direction. I don't think I'll ever get to the point where I'm monetized or anything like that, or have commercials or anything like that on there. And I never would, being the things I talk about. And would never use religion to enrich myself. So if anybody out there, do get used out of anything I say or anything like that, and feel you want to contribute to the cause, find a charity that feeds people or provides medical attention and shelter and stuff like that around the world. I personally give to Mercy USA is a good one. Islamic Relief. Another one is called Hidayah Foundation. And also to a local mosque where I live. And I give to like fallen firefighters. Or I have given. I intend to give more. And I want to get one, get started going, contributing something to like a fallen officers, police officers charity. So anyway, like I say, this one here, or this next series, we'll call it, part 30. There's a lot of things. One of the things I want to go over, something in the news this past week that it's probably been in the news longer, but it was the first I heard of it. This poor man in Texas fighting for his son in the courts. I guess apparently at one point his son, I forget what age his son was, put on some girls' clothes or wanted to put on some girls' clothes or something like that. And the mother apparently said something to some psychologist or something, or school counselor or something. And they more or less teamed up together to say, well, it's apparent that this boy wants to be a girl, and they need to start him on the transgender stuff and allow him to dress as a girl and all this other stuff, and change his name and all this. And his father's like, no, when he's with me, because they're divorced, when he's with me, he acts like a boy all the time. I don't force him to or anything. And so it's going through the courts, and this guy's having to put up the fight of his life to try and save his son from being dragged away by these people who want to totally screw up his mind and tell him because he tried to put on girls' clothes once that means he's really not a boy, or he doesn't want to be a boy or whatever. So may Allah help us all and protect us from this kind of stuff that's going on. And I hope you all will say a prayer for this man and his son and help them fight these kind of people. And it's just ridiculous. This is the United States of America, and if you'd have told me 20 years ago, definitely 30 years ago, 40 years ago, this kind of stuff would be happening here, I'd have told you were nuts. But these groups are gaining more and more power, and it goes back to the it's in the Bible about Lot and Sodom. There's more of it in the Quran about what types of people these were. And it's like it started out in this country. Hey, we just let us be what we are. We're not hurting anybody. Yada yada yada. You had Billy Crystal on Soap way back when, playing, he's the funny little homosexual, and then characters like in the Beverly Hills Cop movies that was it Surge or whatever, was it I forget, Pinchot was the actor's name, I don't know, forget. But all these characters, they've always tried to squeeze them in there somehow. They've and then they made movies like where you had even Wesley Snipes dressing up like a woman. All these things. More and more, and that's how they do. they get the door open little by little, and then all of a sudden they come out guns blazing, and instead of just being accepted by society, they want to push it down everybody's throats and demand this and demand that. And they want to be in the schools, and you got these like counselors, like they're doing to this guy in Texas and his son, and just any day you turn on the TV, they're more and more ramming it down your throat. I was a while back flipping through channels, and I think it was the Wendy show or something was on, and that guy, what's his name, Vance Jones or whatever, the African American activist guy, whatever, was on there and stuff, and then they cut away, and she went out into the audience, was asking questions or something. I'm pretty sure it was her show. I might have caught the tail end of like Ellen or something. I don't watch a lot of TV. It's only when I'm home and channel surfing. I don't have cable since I'm never there, so it's like whatever's on. So I flip through the channels. So, but out in the audience, she starts asking this kid question, young white guy, and he's standing there with like a princess tiara on his head, and it's like, this is what they want for you, America. That's what they want to do to your kids. And it's in the scriptures, in the Bible it don't go into it as much, but in the Quran it talks about how violent the Sodomites were. It's like anyone who questioned them or anything like that was immediate enemy. When the messengers came to Lot, they were right there, to attack, outside Lot's door. And they wanted these guys, and they didn't just want them, because they were there, to speak against them and stuff. And I mean, they would force people into their lifestyle and stuff there, and they would rob people, and they were very violent, them Sodomites. And you can see it more and more. It's not the funny little fruitcake on TV making funny little remarks. Oh, ain't that cute, look at that little type stuff. These people have an agenda, and the way it's being pushed so much, there's something behind it. There's people behind this for some reason, to feminize the American male. And it don't matter if you're white, black, or brown, they're out there, they're looking to do it to you. And I wouldn't even doubt, because aside from the subliminal messages of, in TV shows and movies and stuff, you've also got, you've had pop culture, music, Boy George, and all these things and stuff, and making it more acceptable, more popular. Look at, we can dress any way we want and be as, gaudy as we want to be, and all this, and then it's also, I wouldn't doubt, going along with that, the trying to force it on into your mind and the minds of your children that this is okay and everything. I wouldn't doubt that they're not putting stuff in the food. There is an agenda, and it talks about in the scriptures how in the end times, whether you go to the Bible or the Quran, men will be marrying men. Women will come, in a lot of ways, rule over men. And that's looking at your personal marriages. In scriptures it says a man's head of the household. You look now, it's not that way. Even in modern Islamic countries now, they're pushing for more and more women's rights, which getting an education or something like that, is I guess acceptable in most countries, except for like where extremists like Taliban and stuff like that are. But you hear like in this country, Clinton getting on the Saudis because women weren't allowed to drive. Well, number one, is that any of our business what goes on in Saudi Arabia? And is that a major thing to make a fuss about, with when you could look at all the things the United States could be doing better for its own people and solving their own problems and stuff, and maybe stopping some of the wrong things we do around the world. She's ticked that the Saudis, won't let their women drive, but Israel can bomb the hell out of Gaza, and that's not a problem. That's another thing I want to talk about. Like I said, I agree with Trump on a lot of things economically and stuff, and I understand why he won the election, because we're tired of politicians being politicians and not handling the job at hand. The nuts and bolts, bread and butter of the country and what they're supposed to take care of and do. And we get these characters elected to office that don't have a clue. They absolutely do not have a clue. They get in the office running on some mantra that, how unfair everything is, and they're going to make it better, and, give you this and give you that and stuff. And, they just, and a lot of part of the problem, big part of the problem, is the people too. It's like with Obamacare, and yes, I'll call it Obamacare and not the Affordable Care Act, because when he lied about it and sold it and pushed it and everything for the insurance companies and the people behind it so they can make big bucks, he owns it. It's Obamacare. Like one day I was talking to a guy in a TV room where there was a bunch of us talking, and that subject came up, and he's like, why do you call it Obamacare? It's Affordable Care Act. I'm like, no, it's Obamacare, because he's the one that rammed it down everybody's throat and lied about it and everything like that. And he, in doing so, my premiums doubled from 400 something bucks a month to 800 something bucks a month, and my deductible went up and everything else. And he's like, well, it helped a lot of people who can't afford medical attention stuff to get care and all this. And I know a woman who, she couldn't get insurance until that, and then she was able to get insurance real cheap, and she had to have a operation that cost $200,000 or whatever and all that, and she got it for this cheap and all this and everything, or for free or whatever. And I said, man, there ain't nothing for free. I said, the hospital and them doctors and everything, they still got paid. I said, the insurance company still had to shell out for her coverage. And where do you think they get that money from? By raising my premiums and a lot of other people's premiums. Where is it written that the Congress or the president has the right to take my money or your money or anybody's money to cover somebody else's bills? They don't. It's not like this woman, wouldn't have got her operation anyway. There's other, there's charities and all kinds of things like that out there and stuff. And, just amazing that, and then too, you got to ask, well, what kind, he didn't go into it, but what kind of operation was it? How much longer is she going to live? We're all going to die anyway. So that's the thing. Another thing with this medical stuff and stuff. Where do you draw the line? 80-year-old person needs a kidney transplant, or they're going to die in 6 months. And if you give them the transplant, they might die of a stroke the next friggin' year. So, what are we doing? And any kind of thing that the government's into, or the insurance companies and stuff, they're going to manage all that anyway. try to anyhow. Who gets treatment and who don't. There was stuff called FHP a while back. I don't know if it's still around. But when I was like my late teens, 20s, early 20s, hey, it was kind of great. You need to go to a doctor. You made like a $10 copay, whatever. Prescriptions were $10. But anything else outside of to provide, they picked the doctors and stuff, and all came out later. Them doctors were all on, told what they could do and what they couldn't do by the insurance, and what kind of drugs they could prescribe and couldn't prescribe, and all this, and how they were handcuffed in a lot of ways on giving proper treatment and stuff. So, but that you're always going to have that with any kind of system like that. But so these politicians get in there and we're going to do this. Where's it in the Constitution? The Constitution tells you what your duties are and what you can tax for. Just because you're in position of power doesn't give you a right to rob the population at every little whim you have. Nothing on my birth certificate says, I'm responsible to work work my ass off so the government can take the fruits of my labors and give it to somebody else. They're not supposed to be our overlords. We're not in a feudal system. We're not the peasants where they can just pillage us and take the fruits of our labors. It's not in the Constitution that they can do that, and it's not on any of our birth certificates, yet they get away with it because they've got you all bullshitted that they're allowed to tax you at any time they friggin' want to for anything they want to, and they're not. Look at NASA. That's not a constitutional duty to fund space exploration. Well, it's a matter of security. No, it's not. That's all a bunch of horse shit. And it's not just NASA. There's plenty of other things. But all those, all aerospace companies and stuff that are in that are also in the defense contractors and stuff like that. So there's a lot of that was tied together, because once you build a big infrastructure, like during World War II and everything, if you shut it all down, where do all those people go? And it's like nuclear power plants. Sure, it costs a lot of money, and companies like GE and that can build them, build that power plant. But how many years will go by before you build another one? What do you do with all those people that are working for you? The designers and all the welders and all that kind of stuff, and all the people on the books. And you have something for them to do. So there's regular maintenance and things like that, but you also got to have another revenue stream to be able to pay all these people. So they're also in the business of providing the pellets, the fuel for the nuclear reactors. That's where the money is. Because once a power plant's built, it's built. The only thing where the money's coming in is either supplying what goes into the power plant, or you're making money off of the electricity coming out of it. So, but same thing with like the big infrastructures that were built for the defense contractors and things like that, and everything. So they had to have another venue to get money to them, because there's not you hear it all the time. Well, if it wasn't for NASA and the Apollo missions, you wouldn't have this and that. And that's a bunch of horse shit. If you think you got any more computer or microwave, MR, the only thing you got from NASA was Tang and ballistic missile design. That's it. That's what you got from them. Everything else, there's nothing else. Telecommunications, and computers, anything that wasn't going to be developed on its own through corporations who were in those fields. We'd still have if NASA never flew a freaking mission at all, we'd still have cell phones right now. We'd still have microwave ovens. We'd have all this GPS. We'd have all that stuff. So, But anyhow, that's my rant about Congress. And thing about them, politicians are supposed to be well educated. And during the elections, you always hear all these bullshit questions from the press and stuff and everything. I'd like to see them ask these politicians, which books on economics have you read? Which books on world history have you read? Which books on governance have you read? Which books on this event in history, or what books about business and what, stuff like that? Because our founding fathers were very well versed in all these things. That's why they said we're going to be a constitutional republic, and we're going to safeguard ourselves against a lot of stuff, and we're going to declare what the government can do and what it can't do and all this and everything. And they warned about never having a federal central bank, and about the government getting involved in commerce and all those types of things, and taxes and stuff. And not only are the politicians uneducated in that kind of stuff anymore, the population is also uneducated. I mean, even if you go back, you look over there in England, like Prince Charles and now the Harry and what's the other one? Anyway, you can bet damn well in monarchies and things like that, go to Jordan or whatever, they're educated. You need to read this book on this and how this is done and what this affects and this. And our politicians run on slogans. They don't run on knowledge. They're not prepped and bred to be rulers like a lot of places are around the world. They run on slogans. And our founding fathers were well educated men. They read all the classics and things about religion and economics, and one of them was well versed in one thing or the other. I mean, all of them were well versed in one thing or the other, and were able to discuss and explain what they should do and what they shouldn't do or allow, and how the government should operate. But so I'd really like to see that in our politics, is people being more educated and not running on slogans. And here's the thing. When it comes to economics in this country and stuff, you got all the left wing, they want all the social programs and all kinds of stuff and everything like this. You wouldn't need any of that crap if you put this country back to the way it was during when it was founded, without all the taxes. Yeah, they had taxes to pay for the Revolutionary War because they borrowed money from France and stuff and everything like that. But when Reagan was president, he cut taxes and he got a lot of shit because they said, it's trickle down economics. It's going to trickle down to you people. And that's what they're kind of trying to say about Trump now. Oh, look, all the corporations and rich people got tax cuts, and the lower levels didn't get nothing, and they're our wages are only going up a little bit. It's just trickling down and all this and everything. Look here. When the government hoards the fruits of your labors and my labors, and then doles it out in social programs and welfare and stuff, a little bit here, a little bit there, these people, those people, and that's trickle down. When the government takes most of the wealth of the country and then decides how to divvy it out, that's trickle down economics. All right. If the best thing we could do is cut taxes even more, even corporate taxes. Oh, you can't cut them. Them corporations make millions. Well, guess what? If you cut their taxes more and they hire more and they expand, then there's more people paying taxes because they have jobs, and the jobs will be better paying jobs, and those people will go out and spend money, which will make corporations have to hire even more people, because if they manufacture or anything like that, or build homes or anything like that, the demand is going to go up, so they're going to have to hire more, which is going to mean more wages and more circulation of money, because people take their paychecks and then you go and buy something, and whoever you bought that off of, maybe a million other people are buying something from him. Hey, he can't keep up with the demand. He's got to increase production and hire more people and build another factory, and so on and so on and so on. It's a natural thing that grows on its own if you leave it alone. And our founding fathers knew that. A lot of other people know that. But it seems our government has forgotten it. And, hold on 1 minute. I'll put you down here for a second. Because I need something to drink. I need to turn this heater off. Hold on. Let me find a place to set this phone. You know what? I'll just try and do this. I'd turn around back in here, but I know you just don't want to see darkness. So, it's one of those nights. Oh, there you go. You're seeing darkness anyway. One of those nights, to where put the heater on and sweat you out. You turn it off and you got just enough chill to make you want to put the heater on. It's either going to be a little too hot or a little too cold. And, one of the things about that, a long time ago when I was doing all my first studying and reading of the Quran, I had nights like that where, just couldn't get temperature right. I'd toss and turn the heater on, turn it off, open a window, whatever, or, maybe it was kind of warm, turn the air on, and that'd be too cold, whatever. But, so I was studying the Quran, and I opened up one night, and right there in front of my eyes on the page was a verse about in paradise, in heaven, it's always the perfect temperature. And when you read the Quran, a lot of stuff like that will happen, because I believe, like the Hadith says, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said that, when you turn towards your Maker, he runs towards you. And so I believe a lot of that is him showing you the truth of everything. So it's quite amazing. And kind of hard to put your finger on the feeling when that happens. But anyway, this one's running out here. I know I went off and rambled, so I don't know when I'll do, part 2, part 3 and all this, but this will be 30. There's going to be a lot of parts because, like I said, I want to talk about a lot of things scripturally and what's happening in the country. You're going to talk about racism. What is racism? What's the future of America? If they keep playing this race stuff off of us. What's hate speech? Are you anti-Semitic if you speak out against Israel and what they're doing? All these types of things, because they're, at some point, they're gonna have a speech police dictate what you can and what cannot say anymore in America. So they're already working on that. It's really, really funny. The party that says, they're nonviolent and want no bullying and stuff like that are really getting more and more forceful about hammering everybody in the country, who's different than they are. So much for their, tolerance. All right. Peace to y'all out there. I'll see you on the next one. And thanks for subscribing if you still listen to these. And remember, there's no greater thing that you can say other than that there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his prophet. May peace be upon him and his family and followers. May Allah be well pleased with Ali and his descendants, the descendants of the Prophet Muhammad. Peace be upon him, and peace to all you out there.